You're listening to the Go Lightly Martial Hour on freedomtalkradio.net. freedomtalkradio.net.
freedomtalkradio.net. You know, Joel's having a wonderful time in Tasmania.
Beautiful country.
Yes. He's been taking lots of photographs. It's been, well, he left on May the 9th.
Yeah.
We're now up to
We haven't
July.
seen it since.
I haven't seen it. We're up to July. Let me check my computer. I think it's the 6th of July here in... yes, Monday the 6th of July 2015, and it is 12:04:18 p.m. So it's in the evening and nighttime and early morning for West, East Coast, and then United Kingdom. And oh yes, now I can ask.
Now what?
Now I can ask. Did you have a good weekend?
Oh yeah, I did. What did you?
Yes, lovely weekend. Sunshine was marvellous. We spent some time out in the sunshine today. Hi John, you're in the chat room. Good to have you over there. Now, today's show.
What about it?
What's it all about?
Healthy.
Alpha.
Well, we have, I don't know whether people actually realise it, maybe worldwide they certainly don't, but we have entered into a very, very prophetic moment when these huge planets are coming in. And that's why it was important when we spoke about it the other day. We got a lady in Wisconsin, wasn't it? She sent via Adam or John, photographs of the planets that are coming in, that's right in front of the sun.
Just backing right up, he's referring to Dawn Hull, who lives on the Pacific Northwest, and she posted Facebook, and John Hall just shared it.
Yep.
Yeah.
Now, the nature of light from the sun, let me say this. If the Earth was up against the sun, you'd have a flat spot, basically, with a slight curve to it. That is based on the radius of the sun. The sun is 864,000 miles wide. So it would be relatively flat. So the Earth itself, at say just under 8,000 miles wide, it's got a very, very noticeable curvature to it, the surface. Take it back 93 million miles. Then you've got one small frame of flat space, if you like, coming at the Earth, and that gives the light to the Earth. Now, if the sun's light was all focused on the one spot, would be a crisp in seconds. So what's that mean? Well, you've got light coming from the sun, and as it leaves the sun's surface, it accelerates. This is where Einstein was completely wrong, and the scientists that are going on. What happens with physicists? They get onto something and they think is right, and then they just go from there, and therefore this must be that, and then oh, that's got to be this, and they go on and on and on. Now we're getting up with multi-universes, and
we're back to the flat Earth now. That's the flat Earth. We're back to the flat Earth.
Well, I don't think any physicist believes that.
Well, it's being propagated all over. It is becoming science. There's so much bullshit out there trying once again to get everybody thinking that the Earth is flat. Can you believe it?
No one with half a brain thinks the Earth is flat. And moreover, no one with half a brain would mention it, so I'll move on. Right?
Well, you just said it then. I mean, you're
No,
not
I
even...
didn't. No, I did
The
not.
point is that you just said then if the Earth was up against the Sun, it would be flat, right?
No, that's not what I said. We'll go back and start again.
Yeah, but what I'm getting
Well,
at is
go
that you
back.
have no idea of the bullshit that's out there because you don't... But the point is this is what people is teaching and you just debunked it without even knowing it.
I wasn't talking about that.
I know you weren't, but you...
Why are you then?
Because those people out there know what I'm talking about. They know the bullshit about the flat Earth that's being...
They're as silly as you are then, eh? Is that what you're
Well,
saying?
it's in your face. It's even in the face when
I don't care where it is. But ain't worth talking about.
All right, so let's move right along. Why?
It's like the hollow earth they go on about.
Oh, yes.
Don't talk about that either, it's stupid. Right? Alright, what I said was that if the earth was up against the sun, the curvature of the face of the sun would be very, very minimal. They would still have a slight curve to it. What I'm saying is you take the earth back 93 million miles, and it's got a very extreme curve to it because of the radius of 3963, which is enough for Patmos in miles for the island of Patmos in the Greek New Testament, the book of Revelation.
Which is where Petra is right now.
Petra is there right now. She is actually very, very strongly associated with being a male in a past life, and John on the island of Patmos. She's fascinated with it. So I believe that she is actually John.
Which is why she was compelled to come and
She
stay
was
with
compelled to
us.
stay with us. It's a
In
lovely
India.
lady, one of my favourite women. I haven't got that many, by the way. So Anna's another one. Now, before we get into women, what I was saying was that if the sun was totally focused at the earth, it would be burnt to a crisp. So the sun rays hitting the earth at an angle, as which it does because of the curvature of the earth. The sun's coming at it like that. And then I went into Einstein saying that they believed in the static light theory, in other words, E equals mc squared. And I'm saying, and I've said all along, I was 2 years old when I said Einstein was wrong, by the way. Can you imagine that? And that the speed of light, if you was to imagine a train with carriages, thousands and thousands and thousands of carriages long, and they were all stretched apart, and then the loco started to push on one, would then push the next, would then push the next, push the next, push the next. And if it was 10 million miles long, it would take a long time to get to the end carriage, right? Light is like that. Each wave pushes the next, pushes the next, pushes the next. But also, waves want to repel each other, like poles of a magnet. All right. So as you move off the surface of the sun, light is speeding up. By the time it reaches the earth, it's doing approximately, and I'll just be round figures, 186,000 miles per second, or 300,000 kilometres per second. There's a mathematical formula there which actually fits beautifully, which proves the point, but I won't go into that. So that gives you the latitude of the Great Pyramid. So what it's saying is that the position of the earth is determined by the Great Pyramids and the distance to the sun at the moment of resurrection. Right? And the speed of the earth moving around the sun was doing 66,666.666 miles per hour at the moment of the resurrection. April the 5th, or Australia time, April the 6th. That's why it had to be here at the 6666666 repeater number. Why is that so? Well, the distance across the orbit of the Earth, or the solar system in the Milky Way galaxy, is the same number in light years, 66666.666 light years across. If you multiply that by pi, it is the word etos in Greek, which is year. So it takes 250 million years for the solar system to make one movement around the Milky Way galaxy at the 66666.666 light year diameter. And the distance around as a number in light years would be etos times pi, and that means year. So it's just doesn't mean it's that old. It means it was created in place, thought, come into existence as a material realm. Finish. The earth come first. Okay. At the centre of the earth is the pouring out of time and matter, becoming iron and the other elements on the earth, but primarily iron, which is a magnetic field, which gives it an attraction towards the moon, which was burst out of the Earth when Mars bumped into it, which is the time of the Great Flood. I said the other day that the 40-day period of the rain coming towards the Earth from Mars was a very heavy deluge, and the Earth rotated through it, so therefore the entire Earth was covered with this huge amount of water, some that was lifted up the oceans at 100 miles high, and others was just huge amounts of precipitation, almost solid water, but enough to walk through if you like. So a fish couldn't swim in it by Jesus, it was pretty thick though. So that's your flood story. And that slowed down the rotation of the iron core of the Earth, which caused the gravity to decrease the faster the iron core was spinning, because when something comes from a heavenly realm into another realm, it spins. It has to happen, it always spins, it's movement. And the spinning causes the gravity. So as it slowed down with the bumping of Mars, you find that Mars and the Earth is approximately a 24-hour day on Mars and slightly less than on the Earth. So the two locked in and formed this rotation of the two planets, proving they bumped together. And each, if you look it up on the internet, you'll find that Mars' orbit is slightly over 24 hours and the Earth's orbit, rotational day, is slightly under. Okay. And then Mars was kicked out into space because it was repelled as it bounced off, and the poles shifted, and the two poles, North Pole hit a North Pole and it pushed it away. This is what happens in magnetism, especially on something that's got an iron base. Alrighty. So we have light coming towards the Earth, and it's like a freight train. One carriage pushes the next, and let's imagine the carriage has got a big rubber block between them. So when one pushes the other one bounces off it and pushes away, hits the next carriage, it bounces off it. That's what light does. So light is pushing themselves away. So as it gets close to the Earth, it's doing a speed, and we'll just go in kilometres per hour if you like, 300, it's actually 299. If you look up the latitude and longitude of the Great Pyramid, the latitude of the pyramid, the King's Chamber, the coffer itself, although it's slightly out now because the Earth is tilted, but originally it was the speed of light number in kilometres per hour. So in other words, you've got how many kilometres, translate that, let's say it's 2999999, just for argument's sake. Well, what is that in latitude? 29.999 is a latitude. Okay? It's pretty straightforward. So if you go out to Jupiter, the speed of light is faster. Now we can prove that. They say that the speed of light is static, which is absolute craziest bullshit story of all time, but it fitted at the time because to their advantage to have a distance across the Milky Way galaxy or to the distant other galaxies in billions and billions of years at the speed of light. Well, sure. But can you imagine if you've got a desert scene, Saudi Arabia somewhere, and you've got 100,000 cars, and you've got a radio and you say, all right, boys, switch your lights on. And everyone pulls the headlights on at the same time. All over Saudi Arabia at night, the satellite, we see thousands of lights all come on at the same time. That's how the stars started. All come on at the same time. The oldest is the Earth. Right? Now, physicists have gone into these theories of what's called a split beam, and what they do is they pass a light laser through two beams, and then when it comes through the other side, all sorts of stuff happen, and they say this is what's caused the latest theory, which is the one that's going down to the string theory, because they keep on going down and down and down, where they should stop at the first place when they realise the speed of light is not constant. So these theorists go on and on and on, and because they get paid. They write papers, they get paid for it. So they come up with something, oh, we'll write about that, and they get another couple of $1,000. So this is what these idiots do. So there's a guy called Bell, he's an Irishman, Canadian, and he came up with a theory that sort of answered the question that two events can happen at the same time, and it doesn't matter how far apart they are, it could be on either side of the universe. If you get a movement of an electron moving this way, its twin will go in the opposite direction on the other side of the universe. They actually have a theory for that, believe it or not. That's how stupid these people are. So they're all desperately looking for a way to answer their questions because they're all getting paid and they're all employed by the same Jewish empire. So therefore, they have to come up with a way to keep on increasing the bullshit that they can now make some lovely, lovely documentaries about. I mean, look spectacular. But it's all bullshit. And I've forgotten where the hell I was going with all this, so what was I talking about?
I asked you what were you going to talk about this morning.
I've forgotten now.
It's riveting. Keep going.
All right. So, what we're looking at is coincidence, right? With synchronicity. So, at this point in time, we are across the centre line of the Milky Way galaxy now. You've got to look at it from the point of view, if we were, say, to evolve out of the sea slugs ass 3.5 billion years ago, you say, well, how old is the sun? Well, 10 billion years. Okay, we'll give it a nice number like that. There was no one really there with a time clock trying to work this out, you know. But creation, right, they'll just let that tick me up in the 10 billion. Here we go. We got it right. No, you got it wrong. Because creation is a creation. It's a thought process. Like if I gave you a thought right now and it comes into your mind and you go look it up on the internet and you say, well, 2 minutes later you got the answer to this thing I get, which you knew nothing about, you then have increased your knowledge, so therefore did you create that idea? No, the creator gave it to you, right? So you go and look it up and check it out. That's what I'm really doing. I'm giving you the synchronicity and whatever a theorist says in physics, don't listen, because they're stupid. They're getting paid to think in a certain way, and you can always find some moron in any classroom that'll think in a certain way, and nothing what you say to them will change their mind. And they are selected to become physicists. That's how it works. So you could also get the same group of people and find someone who believes in creation. God did, of course. And some of those people reach very high places in physics and then will turn around and say, hey, this is bullshit. I now realise that Jesus Christ was real and this is how it is and blah, 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 because you have a Kundalini effect and maybe a near-death experience and they've gone on to the other side and they come back and everyone will say it didn't happen, it's all bullshit, it's in your mind, but in actual fact they went over and seen Grandma, right? So this is what happens. So people become smarter and smarter and smarter as time goes on when they've had these Kundalini experiences, near-death experiences, and they listen to an arsehole like me yapping at you constantly. Because they do make a lot of sense. That's the whole point. Otherwise, we'd be saying it. So, what I'm saying basically is you've got to look for the synchronicity, and I'll give you several at this moment in time, that the speed of light determines at the Earth's surface the distance from the Sun. That gives you the latitude of the Great Pyramid, which gives you the height of the pyramid with the pyramid, because once I give you all the answers, then you know what the height of the pyramid is by pi, because it's all determined by pi, as the distance across the orbit of the Earth and the solar system around the Milky Way galaxy times pi is an etos in Greek, which is year. That's 250 million years in that orbit, so it gives you the speed, you can work it all out, that's not a problem. It just didn't happen. It is like taking a CD and hold it up. Suddenly you say, oh yeah, right, now play it. Right? You didn't create the CD, I did, I'm giving it to you, so you go and play it, and no matter where you go forward and back in time on that CD, and you have the beginning and the end. You can go straight to the end if you like. Well, we're at the end right now. So forget about the start of the CD, we're at the end right now. So you would expect, as prophecy has been predicted to be true in all Isaiah, Ezekiel, Daniel, all the regular true prophets, not the ones like Paul and all that bullshit, because they're just counter moves on behalf of the beast. So then you've got some of the truth that seeps through in the Gospels. A lot of it isn't, but a lot of it is. It's because they're bound to include in the soup pile a pollution of sorts of their own plagiarised words from something else. So you've got the only way you can really work out whether the Gospels is true or not. And you can say pray about it, well that's one way of doing it, but the other way of doing it is compare it to the Gospels of the Holy 96 lectins, that's the Holy 12, and I can explain that through. But if you're just coming in right now, I'm not going back over all that. If you haven't caught up by now, I don't give a fuck one or the other, because we're at a point in time where you're all going to be dead unless you do as I tell you. Right? Now, you could be also preordained to be dead, but some of you out there do have a free will, and you can make up your mind that judgment has already occurred for the masses, and they're finished. So the outcome is this. We have this surface of the sun, which has got a slight curvature to it, and the light is coming out that tells you the distance to the Earth and the location of the Great Pyramid, and the height of the Great Pyramid based on pi, because I was telling you before, everything else is based on pi and phi. And that number at the height of the finished pyramid is the same number as the degrees Fahrenheit below zero in outer space. Hello? So synchronicity. We got the height of the pyramid, 484.9, rounded a little bit, and you got the height, the temperature of, in Fahrenheit, of the absolute temperature downwards, below zero, of the outer space. Same number, with a little bit, because it depends who's measuring. You know, it's always a little bit out. They don't like to do things accurately in science because it gives them nowhere to whittle. So it is 484.9 degrees below Fahrenheit. Okay. So it goes on. You can then calculate that in Celsius or in Kelvin, and it goes on and on and on. It all comes back to the same synchronistic starting point. And that synchronistic starting point is creation. And the creation happened on the earth first. After all, if you go to sleep at night and you have a dream and it's in your head, it's in the neighbour's head next door? No. You could tell him in the morning about your dream and he goes, oh yeah, I might have a dream about it myself tonight. Point is, you're the first to do it. So the first to do it is a creator. So you in your little dream have created something and you're the creator of it. Well, you go write a book if you like. You are the first to do it. So the creator is the first to do it. And it's done in such a way that you are in the image of the creator. Your mind, your soul is in the image of the creator. And therefore, little glimpses of it starts to seep through, although you'll probably never be able to follow it. But little glimpses of it can be shown to be true. And that's the most important thing that I can tell you, is that I'm in charge. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about how fast it's going and what rumours of wars and so forth and whether the earth is flat or not. Give me a break. I'm talking to intelligent people. I'm not talking to morons. Right? I don't care what morons think, because they're out of here. So we have a creation situation which is proved ultimately in the measurements of the earth, which I've shown you pertaining to myself, because you wouldn't expect God to come back to the earth and come back and have the next door neighbour fit all the numbers, right? No problem. It's got to be me. And I'm the one that's got to give you the new name. I'm the one that's got to tell you what it is. So therefore, if you don't know what the new name of God is by now, and I've already told you, or Ash has told you 100,000 times, then you're out of here. I'm sorry, you're not going to make it. Because you're spiritually not able to reach that point, because you're already in the judgment of the past lives, because you cannot destroy the soul. I think it's in Matthew 10:28. Fear him that can destroy both body and soul in hell. Well, where is that? How can you have body and soul in hell? Well, the hell is a creation, right? If you don't believe in a creation, put your hand in an oven and turn it on. That's hell, right? Well, the hell that's been created for you here is caused by the Babylonian mystery religion, which is what Caiaphas wrote to when he's seen Jesus appear to him in a day after he was crucified. Why he was crucified. And I appeared to this idiot and told him he's got an evil spirit. It's with his wife and his witness, right? That's the whole point of having witnesses. The two witnesses with him was his father-in-law and his wife. So he then wrote to Babylon. Why did he write to Babylon? That's a mystery religion. That's where it all comes from. And that is why today we have the Talmud and we have all these terrible, evil things, because it is the exact opposite of what you would like the earth to be. That's what hell is. That's why you're in it. So you've got the Hopalong Cassidy effect, right? The Lone Ranger effect. Got to show up and save the day. Well, that is prophecy. It's an Isaiah prophecy, it's a Matthew prophecy, it's a John prophecy, it's a Comforter prophecy. So, naturally when I get here, no one's going to like me because I'm an arsehole after all. And the point being that most of the people out there are Jewish influenced. So, what have we got at the moment? We've got these marvellous planetary bodies coming in. We've got the light coming from these planetary bodies, which takes us back to the flat light coming from the sun, for this little dot that's coming to the earth. And that light is made up of three components, right? Three primary colours. and they break down into a rainbow of 7 colours. So when we get these photographs coming through from John and this lady in the Western United States, she took photographs of the orbs, and they are causing the light to bend. And instead of coming straight at us as normal to give us a red, blue and yellow, it's coming straight at us and it's bending, so it's giving a rainbow effect of the light coming through the atmosphere. Now, coincidentally, we were down, and where we live in Turgum is here for a reason, because Turgum, the distance from Turgum to the eclipse that occurred on the 25th of January 1944, that point along the 25-degree latitude to this house here is the number for Almighty God. Hello? Therefore, the whole region has been aligned east-west along the coast. So when my little sweetheart says, let's go and see the moon coming up, I do that. I don't argue. I just said, yes, you've got a good idea, let's do it.
5 minutes notice.
5 minutes notice. And I never, ever disagree. I just said, let's go. That's it. So we're down there, and we're watching the moon come up, and I turn the camera around. Now, at this point on the east coast of Australia, the tide can go out quite a ways. And as a matter of fact, you made a comment, there's either a tsunami coming in or the tide's going right out.
It seemed to be further out than
well, it turned out it wasn't a tsunami after all. But as the tide goes out, it's quite low level, and you get little lagoons, if you like, little lakes that might be 20 or 30 metres by 100 metres all along, and you're looking along the sunset in the distance, which is 4 or 5 kilometres away on the curvature of the earth. So the camera, it picks up the light coming from the sun in a very dark reddish colour, and it has broken down as it reflects off the surface of the still water, because the tide's gone right out, leaving these little lagoons, if you like, several of them, 8 or 9 of them or more, and each one is reflecting a different colour, which means it has picked up the refracted light that is coming from the planets that are in front of the sun. And the reason they're coming down from in front of the sun, because first off, you don't want the Earth public to see it, and also I've said that the Yanks never went to the moon because you can't go through the Van Allen belt. But if you've got the moon is right up to the surface of the Earth and is blocking the sunlight off, the Van Allen belt disappears, and you could then progressively come back and forth from these planets. So if you're an angel and you're built like a human being, although you're a lot larger, you are affected by the forces of the heavenly realm around you. So therefore, in the shadow of this huge sphere that's going to be coming and blocking out the sunlight, then they can come back and forwards with impunity. Right? So the Americans, I'll give them an idea, we'll get you little rockets and go out and have a look. Because you can go through the Van Allen belt, you won't have to worry about it. The only thing is, you get the other side, there's angels there going to chomp you up in little tiny bits. Right? So the angels are very real, they're very large. I have seen several of them personally, but one in particular I remember that no one else could see it. I'm walking through the Greensboro shopping centre, and this young fellow's walking along, looked about 22, 23 years old maybe. Would have to have been 7 foot 6 inches tall. Weight 400 pounds, 250 kilos, something like that, huge. Little tiny woman, normal sized woman, walking beside him, up to his waist. And I walked up behind him and looked, and I'm looking up at his shoulder, right? And ironically, he had blonde hair, straight hair, pulled back, and he looked a bit like Elvis Presley. I must have looked this much. But his arms were as big as my legs, right? I mean, this would have to be one of the most massive people on the earth. And yet, people in the crowd walking past him never even glanced up at him. So therefore, was I the only one seeing him? I say yes. So this is what angels are like. So if you get someone 7 foot, 8 foot standing at the doorway, maybe you shouldn't give any cheek. It just could be an angel come to sort you out. However, primarily angels come in several forms. There's spiritual form and there's physical form. And they can manifest as whatever they wish to be. They can change shape if you like. But primarily, if it's a big giant man, that's what it's going to be like when you see him. Right? And I have met other people that have had experiences similar to that, where they have seen giants, angels. One guy I spoke to in hospital, and he was an orderly, and he said he walked into this room and he near shit himself because there was an angel standing there. He said he's got to be 13 foot tall. And he said he was out of there in a flash, pushing his little trolley around. So that's from a logical thinking man that's working in hospitals, seeing lots of strange things, because people do see ghosts sometimes in hospitals. And this man was talking about ghosts, matter of fact, and he said he's seen this thing, he didn't know what it was, and I said, well, it was an angel. And you yourself have been in contact with angels, which also come in a variety of sizes.
Yes, Al was my size.
Yeah. So this is the whole point. Lots of spiritual things going on. Now, we've got a few questions here from a lady, which you can read if you like, and we'll try and attempt to answer it under the context of what I've already been talking, right? Right. So it's an opportunity for someone to ask a question to the Almighty that is on the earth, just like you were in the days of Jesus and someone said, show us the Father. He said, oh, bunch of morons, right? I've been with you for 3 years. You still don't get it. You've seen the Father, you've seen me, right? Well, I'm saying to you now, if you've seen it, you're looking at the Father. Right? That's why I look like the old man on the Shroud of Turin, why the Pope recognised it. Because he is Peter reincarnated. But primarily, if you look at the Shroud of Turin, the photograph taken by Pia in 1898, 28th of May, I think it was, when he developed the negative plate, instead of seeing a negative, he's seen a positive on the plate. If you've got to know about, probably younger people don't know this, but older people might know how in the old days, you had a negative plate and then you shine a light through that, put a piece of paper on it, it becomes a positive underneath. So you take the sheet out and you put it in an emulsifier, and that stops it from any further light degradation. Then you pick it up and you get yourself a photograph. That's how it works. So with the wonder of the Shroud of Turin, it's a positive image that is on the shroud. So when Secondo Pia took the photograph in 1898, in his own words, he said he nearly dropped the plate because for the first time he's seen what actually Jesus looked like in a positive image that was on his negative plate. So it's a complete reverse of what it should be logically, and of course there's no explanation for that except it's a miracle after miracle. The shroud is full of miracles, and you can watch all sorts of documentaries on the shroud, and primarily I haven't seen anyone yet who's actually got it. Right? They all very educated people, and they go on and on and on, but they miss the vital clues, right? Which I've been dropping out there for the last 20 years, trying to educate them. And one of the biggest mistakes they make is that the body itself gave off the image, when in actual fact it was the other way around. The soul was released from the cross, which is the Almighty, that came back into and passed through the shroud, leaving an image on both sides against the blood, against the body, because the body had given off the blood. It was congealed blood because it had been washed clean by the storm, and it was basically clean. And Nicodemus had brought 100 pounds of spice and placed it around the body. That's why the shroud is flat against the rock and also over the body, because the 100 pounds of spices was placed around the body, and that kept the shroud level. So when the soul came in, as it left from the cross through the blood left, it came back in through the same path of the blood and back in through the blood and caused the body to revive, and now the soul is worn on the outside. And that is why if you look at Isaiah 63 or look at the New Testament where it talks about the garment, or the book of Revelation and 144,000 saints wearing white, washed clean by the blood of the Lamb, and blah, blah, blah. That's what that's all about. Right? Why the blood of the Lamb? Well, the sacrifice in those days of Moses was to sacrifice a lamb, and you could put your sin into the lamb, and the lamb would then, the blood of the lamb could not be seen by earth god Lucifer. And therefore the sin was forgiven, and they make a few bucks on the side. So where did Moses come from? Well, it's a Babylonian mystery religion. If you go to Egypt, they know what you're talking about. They've heard of Moses, yeah, but it's not part of the big deal. Right? So, yeah, that's what it's all about. So the last lamb to be sacrificed was the sacrifice of Jesus with the blood of God Almighty, which is the distance to Tugum from that solar eclipse I told you about, inside the blood, which poured out, and then God Almighty was now on the earth through the blood of Jesus, separated by the crucifixion, not to pay for the sins of man at all. It was to get God onto the earth as the Holy Ghost. I'll put his hand up right now. Oh, it's me. It's all right. So, that's what it's all about. So, you can find out that in a church. Go and ask them, and they'll tell you all the bullshit in the world. Just reverse it. Simple. You can learn a lot from churches and Jews and everyone else. Because they just reverse everything. Because they don't know. They don't want to know. It's just showbiz. It's the Jesus business empire, what it's all about. Now, you were going to say something, Diana?
Well, first of all, we Amber and Ebony are on school holidays.
Oh, they're
listening today. And Diana...
Aren't they lovely children? Educated by homosexuals.
Oh,
there's a story and a half. Now, go on.
You started talking about angels, and you answered Amber because... thank you, yeah. Amber just asked how big the angels are. You've already answered her.
Yeah, they can be all sizes.
That was now minutes ago. So, yeah, hi girls. I hope you are behaving yourselves.
Amber's got royal blood through the Hungarian line, which goes back to the same lineage of my ancestor through the Harrison line, which goes back to the, I think it was...
Margaret.
Yes, from Margaret. She was the wife of Malcolm III, who was the mother, rather grandmother of King William the Lion of Scotland, because his father was killed in the war.
Now, John, what's been happening this morning? John and Hirad were in, well, John's still there, and Diana. They've all had audio problems this morning. It's not us. It's not me. We are functioning well, but they've all had audio problems. They're there now. Hirad had to go because his audio wasn't kicking in, but John's back. And
they've all had problems, so therefore, what's causing that? Is it the planets coming in, or is it that the people that ring up and talked about your car the other day that interfere with the broadcast? I'd be inclined to say that's what it is.
Yeah, I had a strange phone call the other day on my mobile phone, and this man, number unknown, identified himself as a policeman out of Brisbane. So I go, okay. And then he asked me if I drove my car with the license plate that my car has, and I said yes. And he said, "Is it with you now?" And it was in the garage. And then asked if I was still at Harvey Bay, and I just said yes. And then he hung up. So I phoned the Brisbane police back. They said that was not them. It was very unusual, and they've given me a file number. He did go on to say, Constable Allen did go on to say that there's a lot of scams happening out there, but this was unusual, so I have a case number for it. You know, they're idiots, these guys, and whatever it is that they might be planning, go for it, because it'll fall over on them, and it goes nowhere. Anyway, we've got questions from... yes. Hello, Ash, Yara and Ash from Amber and Ebony. Hello, girls. We'll go over now because Rose from the United Kingdom once again sent some very important questions that everybody needs to hear the answers to. Rose is the mother of one young son, and of course she is very concerned what is happening in the world today. She says, "Hi Martha, I'm asking myself the question, if I could talk to God and get a direct answer, what would I ask him?" She goes on, "The confusion of life gets to me dramatically. Some days are clearer than others, but I'm worried about the future. More importantly, my son's future. My life is only important to be here for him, to provide, protect him, and try guide him as best I can. Which leads me to ask some important questions to Yahweh. Number 1, what is my soul, that's S-O-U-L, purpose in life? Number 2, who am I? Have I been reincarnated? Number 3, can you see through my eyes? Do you know as I feel? 4, do you truly understand my heart? And are you pleased by my actions or disappointed? 5, when God destroys evil, will I be able to save my son? Will I be saved? 6, do I need to be preparing for what's to come? And if so, what do I need to do? 7, is it possible to meet with Brian? Maybe if we met, I would feel that he was the Lord in person for sure. Number 8, how should I be living my life? What rules or guidelines should I be following? She goes on to say, I'm lost. I love my family, but there's far too much confusion. Do I move away or stay around to be there for them, especially my sisters and their children? Do I keep Cade close to his cousins? Do I just trust my own instincts and judgment? Is God expecting us to find the answers within ourselves? Sorry for the bombardment of questions awaiting your response. Many thanks, Rose. So, we'll go back.
Well, it's easy to meet me, just get on a plane, come over here.
Yes.
A bit scary up close, I must admit. But you're made in the image of God, so therefore I do have complete empathy with your problems. And that is what it's all about, to be a human being. And yes, I can see through your eyes, and I do understand how concerned you can be for your sisters. But each of us is a reincarnate. Who you were in the past is not the point at this moment in time, because I need more information, or maybe I could look into that for you later. But you must have empathy with what the Creator is all about. Put yourself in my shoes, that I've got to come back to the earth and find the earth as it is, because it is a winnowing effect to get rid of the free will that has overcome most of the world by being seduced by the Jews and Babylonian mystery religion, which all goes back to the same outfit, same people. It's a spirit as opposed to an individual. The Lucifer spirit is a collective spirit of evil thoughts that have accumulated in men that have reincarnated over and over and over again, and they also face judgment. So that when judgment comes, they're out of here. So this is very, very close now, because go back 4 or 5 years ago, you wouldn't have been talking to me like this, would you? So obviously we've advanced in time so that you can actually talk to me, and I can give you an insight into what my feelings are on, and having empathy with yourself, being a mother and concerned about your sisters and your son and whether he's going to make it and blah blah blah. So yeah, I have complete empathy with you, and all I say is your faith will get you through it, and you can run up and find another God if you like, but you'll end up coming back to me anyhow, so I don't really give a shit one way or the other in that sense, because there's a lot of people out there of two minds. They keep on falling back into the old church routine or the bullshit that's constantly on TV, and if you can't get over that, then you can be consumed again once again. But it doesn't mean you're going to be destroyed off the face of the earth because you've made a few mistakes. That's not the point. If you're a decent person, you're a decent soul, you've been judged before, you're here to reap the reward, to wear the white garment, which I've told everybody to take from within your blood and put on the outside, because it's a matter of transforming the soul from the inside of the blood into and understanding it. Put it on the outside. Put it on like a garment every time you go to bed or get up in the morning. To say, look, my garment is on the outside now. It's going to protect me. And you instill it in your child. Now, is your sister's going to believe it? Of course not. You're in hell. Hell is not to be with other people that have the same mind as you. It's to be with a family that breaks your heart. And I'm afraid we spoke about this last night in bed. I often wish I could have cried about the things that I've gone through with my own children. And to give an example, we saw this movie, and a man, his daughter had been suddenly murdered under strange circumstances, and he has to go to the morgue and see his children, his girl, laying there. She's only 19 years old. Well, I said to Ash, I wish that I could have gone and seen my child when she was 12 years old on a slab in a morgue, rather than to live the life she lived that is far worse and put me through a greater hell that I could not have imagined. Because she's not going to make it anyhow. There's no repentance for her. I've already accepted the fact that my children, this is my blood children through my first wife, is not going to make it. They're virtually spiritually dead. I can't raise them from in particular because I'm their father and closest to them in that sense. I have no effect on them because they've been completely devoured by the Lucifer's choice, which is the mother, which I've often talked about how evil a person she is. And I couldn't sit here for an hour and tell you. And matter of fact, a lot of things that I have not told publicly, or have I told my sweetheart sitting beside me, because it's too horrible. It's too obscene, too embarrassing, that these children put me through. And I can remember the moment that they ceased to exist. When certain things happened, there was that divine silver cord of love. Boom, gone. That was it. And it is not something that I can repair. And I am very saddened by that. Very saddened. So the same thing happened with my brother and my sister and all these people that I loved as a child, and as I grew older I realised that they were a waste of time. You must go and love a brick wall. So with your sisters,
children,
if you can, well, just hang in there. If you get the opportunity to pull them out of the fire, so to speak, do so, because that's the will of yourself. That's your own soul driving you to do that because of the compassion for your loved ones. But is it going to be successful? Very, very unlikely. Very unlikely. As far as your son's concerned, he's on his own mission. If he's one of the people that is already judged and preordained to make it, like yourself, he will. If he's not, you have to accept the fact that he is coming from a past life. And if in the past life he had not been able to reach the point where you did in your past life, and now the burden has been given to you for that child to be your son. That's my experience. It doesn't mean you're going to experience the same thing, but you have to keep your eyes open and be aware that if it is an impossible situation where the judgment is already in, this is the sentence time. This is when it's all judgment being carried out. That's why the angels are showing up. Right? So you have to expect that you might lose your sisters and family members are the ones you want to help most of all, but you can't because they've already been convicted and condemned. There's no turning back at this point in time. They're on death row. And most of the people of the earth are. And the reason for it is because in my Father's house, that's in my house, there are many mansions. And those mansions are earth-like, that are ready to be occupied by a complete human package of wonderful people made in my image that are of the stature and soul-wise that are going to be spread throughout the universe, and so for in the future, 1,000 years from now, for example, little children with torches. See the little dot in space there? Mm. It's 3 million light years away, yeah, right? That's where God is. So they will know. It'll be implanted in them. The angels do that. That's their job. Right? So that's what it's all about. So it's very important that we can't have this abomination that's going on the earth right now continuing for much longer, or can it be duplicated to be placed on all of the worlds to come, the many mansions in my Father's house. So therefore, if this is the case, then it is obvious that we all have to pitch in and say, all right, we understand now that we cannot have people like, i.e. your sister, or sisters, or cousins, or whatever, carrying on the same monstrous behaviour when God himself comes to the earth and he cannot find anyone worth saving. Isaiah prophecy 63. Now, I lived that for a very, very long period of time, but I didn't give up. I thought eventually I've got to come across someone's worth saving. Well, that little someone worth saving is sitting right beside me. And actually, when she found me, I was totally exhausted. I looked 20 years older, and I had virtually thought, well, I can't do anything more. I've done it all I can. I'm just going to let it play out. And the angels sort it out when the judgment arrives. Well, she wasn't going to have that.
Well, hello, I had just had my interview with Al months before, so I was...
So this is how it goes. See, I don't get a break, right? So it's 24 hours, 7 days a week.
Actually, you get a break every morning, out on the pool table, you break. Anyway, that's the Martha in me, I can't help it. That's my soul drive.
Yeah, well...
So, now, do I need to be preparing for what's to come? And if so, what do I need to do? I think preparing is that mentally...
Well, you've got to be aware of what I'm telling you is true. And either accept it or reject it. It's up to you. But this is what free will is all about. So, I know if I was me and you were, rather, let's say the other way around, I'd have no problem with it because it fits my psyche. As a human being, it fits my psyche. There's got to be someone's got to do it. He's got to be the ropes royal planet. He's got to have all the knowledge. He's got to do blah, blah, blah. And I'd have no problem with that. But other people don't think that way and do have a problem with it. Well, what can I say? I just keep on putting the information out there and showing by demonstration that this is how we together now get things done, and how I got it done up until the time that you found me in 2008.
What everybody needs to arrive at is in their mind is that not homosexuals, not lesbians, they're not
going to make it.
None of them are going to make it. They are all here from their past lives, and they have already been judged. So the execution is about to be carried out, the execution of the sentence that is already against them. And the "forgive me, Father, they do not know what they're doing" is a lie. They knew then and they knew now. This is the image of the beast Jesus that people have been suckered into worshipping by the Jews who have infiltrated all writings. Not going to happen. And the Jesus that everybody is protecting is their Jesus. Well, it's doctrines of devils, and the devils are the Jews who call themselves Jews and are not. Mystery Babylon that has infiltrated all of, particularly the Protestant churches, or 36,000 different denominations. Hello, do you not think that is a house divided against itself? Say what you will about the Roman Catholic Church, it has remained mostly united throughout 2 millennia, even though the devil has set out to destroy it for the very reason. And given the
opportunity.
This
is also the judgment, you see. It's like, I give you the opportunity. You can hate me, you can do what you like, you can get a doll and stick pins in it. I don't care. It's your choice. The church had its choice. And it allowed homosexuals, and it allowed Freemasons, and it allowed the Jews in and everyone else. This is what the prophecy that was shown to Leo the 13th, the lovely man. It was on a Monday, I think it was the 13th of October 1884. And he went into a trance, some say he fell over or whatever, it doesn't matter. 10 minutes he heard the discussion between a guttural sounding voice, which he assumed was Satan, talking to the sweet voice of Jesus, and he's asking Almighty God to give him 100 years to destroy the church. He said, yeah, you got it. And give me the power to do it. Yeah, you got it. What's that to do with? Well, it's like saying to anyone, I'll give you 25 years on this earth and you're going to get killed in a car accident, and at the end of that time, and what you've done up until that time is going to be the penance that you're going to have to pay. That's the high jump you're in for. So if you take it seriously and say, hey, shit, I'm going to die when I'm 25 years old. I'm going to do the best I can to do the right thing, or I don't believe any of it, and go out there becoming homosexual or whatever you do. And when that happens, you're out of here. That's it. Gone. Finished. Complete. Now, I'll give an example of that. There is, as I said, the synchronistic behaviour of scientists that can't help themselves by discovering something, got to go and try and get a Nobel Prize for it. They don't ever say, oh, God did it. I've discovered something and wonder. Now, I'll give an example of what was discovered in the Dead Sea. It's 1,300 feet, I think it's 1,301 feet below sea level. That is a flashing sword. And that is where the identity of the area of Bozrah, which is Sodom and Gomorrah, where it was destroyed. There were several cities, 5 cities there were destroyed, not just one. And when the people went there and started looking at what was there, they seen very, very strange things like ash that shouldn't be there, certain minerals converted into other minerals by extreme heat, but there was little lumps of rock that they cracked open. Inside it was a bit of brimstone, which is sulphur, and they took it and they lit it, and you could see the thing with this beautiful purplish light burning away and the smell of sulphur coming off it. This is all over the area where the biblical Sodom and Gomorrah took place. So was there any, can you imagine being in a city, say like New York, and it's bombarded by brimstone of pellets coming down, all sizes and shapes. Biblically they talk about 25 talents apiece, which is huge. But can you imagine being in that situation where you're getting bombarded by this sulphur coming down from space? Well, it happened. That's the whole point. You say, oh, what's bullshit, it's a story, blah, blah, blah. You go there, and I'll tell you who the man was that discovered it. Ron Wyatt. Right? Look Ron Wyatt up. He's made a few discoveries. Some aren't right. Like the location of Noah's Ark or the crossing of the Red Sea is wrong on those 2 points, but he did get the Ark of the Covenant right, and he got Sodom and Gomorrah right. Right? So here it is. You take a little rock, and you break it open, and there's a piece of sulphur, which is brimstone. Brimstone is biblically sulphur, right? And when you lit it, it gives off the sulphur smell, and it glows purple when the flame, just like a bit of methylated spirit burns. Have you ever seen that? If you've got a campfire or something. That's what it's like. So it's all throughout the area, which is 1,300 feet below sea level, the Dead Sea, the lowest point on earth. Now, there's a sort of a parable in that. Barak is the word's meaning in Hebrew, which is to strike like lightning. Well, that sort of fits, doesn't it? But also a two-edged sword from the mouth of Jesus, the second coming. You've got Jesus one and the Comforter. Jesus and the Father are one, right? So Jesus comes back as the Comforter, the Holy Ghost, which is born into the most royal person, which is pretty obvious has to be, otherwise what's the bloody point? If I'm the king of the planet, I'd surely have to be born into the most royal line, and there has to be a false royal line, which of course is the Queen, the Jews. Right? It's all obvious. That's why the church is, the head of the church, or Pope Benedict said to me, who's going to be the next Pope? I said, well, it's the Antichrist, whoever, just put a book in his head when he walks out the door. He wasn't too happy with that. But when it became Francis, he said, he's a better man than I. No, he ain't. He's an arsehole. I didn't say that to the Pope, but he is an arsehole. And he said he's more Christ-like than I. Well, there's a statement that shows you how Benedict was wrong in that sense. But Benedict's a very nice man. He does do all the stupid bullshit things that the New Testament tells him to do, like forgive everybody, turn the other cheek and all that kind of stuff, which is all bullshit. I never turn the other cheek. You cross me, I'll knock you out. Right? We don't take no bullshit. You're in hell and you're not allowed to turn the other cheek. You're not allowed to forgive everybody. Like, I've got a few examples. Mary and Robert Patty, that arsehole in New Guinea, the man that ripped us off for $70,000. She says, I forgive him. Well, I fucking don't. Right? That man cost the lives of many people because I didn't have the money to go and set up more clinics in New Guinea. But Mary, Jesus, Seventh-day Adventist, I forgive him. Well, you're fucked in the head. I'll do the forgiving if there's going to be forgiving. You don't worry about it. If he's an arsehole, he's an arsehole. Do you agree with that, don't you?
Absolutely.
So that's my message for the day. Forgive nobody. Tell them all to get fucked.
Yeah.
Take no quarter. You're in a... Like this lady with a son now, she's worried about what's going to happen to her son. Well, take no quarter. Right? You protect him at all you can. If you lose him at the end of the day, it ain't my fault. Right? It's his past life that's caused him to be born into your life to put you through more agony. To test you. It's all a test. But, on the other hand, he could be a saint. You know him better than I do. Don't worry about your sisters and brothers and cousins and everyone else around you. Too late. There's no last minute horse's nose at the post past the favourite. It doesn't work that way. The game is over.
As evidenced by our driving around in a Rover,
Yeah.
2013, game over, Rover.
Now, the churches, it's all business. We was told that by an Italian couple we met in New Guinea, or Papua.
We stayed with them 6 nights.
And he said, it's all business. It's got nothing to do with whether they want Jesus back or not, because they don't.
Yeah, these are the ones taking his name and using it. That's taking and using the name in vain, and they do their good works, raising money for this, that, and the other. But so I said to Maro, I said, does it not make any difference that the Christ is back? And he just looked at me and he says, it's all business. And his wife, Yana, it's always the women who are way more in tune, she just said, they don't care about Jesus. They never did. It's all business. So, the big shocker is that, the Christ is back. And guess what? It's all business. It's a done deal. The judgment is in. And now we are just living out the days ahead of us until it is a serious culling. The elite talk about the culling of the earth and all the rest of it. Well, it's God culling.
I don't expect anybody to be perfect. Just do your best, right? And what will be, will be. Free will is very important to consider, that when you give someone free will, for example, your little boy, when he grows up, give him free will. Well, I'll tell you what, you've got to educate him right, because free will is extremely dangerous, because you could get down the next bloody homosexual shop, well, he's sucking someone's dick, right? And that's going to cost him his soul. It's as simple as that. You better make sure that when you educate a child, you get it right.
Alright, on that note, we're out of time. Diana says yes, take no quarter from our...
Who said that?
Diana.
Oh, yes, she's a wonderful woman.
Diana and Amber, take no quarter. Alright, guys.
Slice and dice.
Slice and dice, the sword of truth. And we'll be back tomorrow. Tuesday is the day after Monday.
Yep.
So, later Gators. We'll go out with the choir. Here it is.
The Go Lightly Martial Art on freedomtalkradio.net.
Alright guys, back tomorrow. Bye.
Bye-bye.